Hello and welcome to the Toronto Ultra Merk and Maven podcast. We've got a post-champs episode. And just to kind of let you guys know what the deal is, I know a lot of you have enjoyed having guests on. We were kind of firing off every week with a different guest. It was kind of tough before champs because everybody prepping, kind of tough after champs because everyone got back and in the midst of Rostermania. So Joe
This is probably their most stressful time, yeah.
Yes. So Joe and I are going to do a recap, and then basically going forward in the off season, we hope to have a guest every week. It should be way easier. It was sometimes a pain even like during the season just to line up what day when they were free, but we should be back to hanging out with the guests for 2 hours. But for now, you're stuck with Joe and I chatting shit.
Being idiots. Yeah, yep. I mean, we were playing today with Crowder, and this guy's on the phone every half hour. This is probably, as I said, the most stressful time for players. I think for some, it's probably not too stressful, that being New York. It sounds like outside of that, anyone and everyone could be on the move, which I think to me is pretty surprising. I mean, I'm sure there's a few that could potentially stick, but I mean, this is sort of the craziest time of the year. Teams trying to figure it out, and it can be tough for players because you wake up one day, you have a team, you go to sleep, there's another team the next day. It's just the way it goes until those contracts are signed. But I don't believe that opens up until it's like July, like first week of July, I think officially.
Well, I mean, I'm not surprised because like I think the only thing that would make me like not change is either I maybe did what New York did in one of the last two events, or I was super consistent to the point that we knew we had like that core we were going to win. Like Faze could change, obviously, but like they were the only team that was like top 3 every event, like had a real good consistent form. But everybody else was kind of all over. Like I mean, I know Ultra had a solid year for the most part, like not a lot of like bad finishes, but like no one was like getting to every final or like super consistent. So I'm not shocked if everything kind of shakes up. And it takes, you know how it is. It's one domino, bro. Like one big piece, one big player, and just fucking shit explodes. Like.
Yeah, no, it does. It takes one player. I guess the only thing I would say it's like tough. It's like obviously the competition is at its highest, but it's always like title to title too. It's just like, was it so inconsistent due to the title? I mean, we even picked up talking with players like the spawns, like just how difficult it was. It was this mixture of squad spawns and not squad spawns. It almost, I mean, feels like, like. It was tough for them in a lot of these different ways without dead silence, without red dots. This was like another curveball that players had to deal with and teams had to deal with. And I think it was difficult. Obviously, someone always figures it out in some way. That was New York. Last year it was LA Thieves. But outside of that, it's not like we've had this, Faze Cold War, sort of esque title. It really hasn't. And it's like, obviously I would love. You want to say that competition is at its highest. I do. And I get that. But at the same time, I think it can be very difficult to be as consistent as you probably want to be in these last couple of titles.
Outside of Cold War, we have had one of two things. But take maps and the Deddy stuff, take it all out, just talk spawns. Like we've either had like dog shit spawns or inconsistent spawns. And like I'm one that would rather have like, all right, if you want to do squad spawns or something, fuck it, whatever, just make it.
Yeah, because at least you could read them, right?
Yes. This year was just like, think of like, I was talking to Sam Octane today about stuff, and I was like, we were talking about like what's more important maps of the spawn system. Like I think we kind of agree, like both. Both is a part. Like Hotel is a good map. Hotel I think is a solid map. But it is probably one of the worst. It was the worst respawn of the year. I don't care what anyone fucking tells me. Just because how spawns worked, control and hardpoint. If you're watching the minimap, it's just like
doom.
Sam was like, "You're right, dude. It actually might have been the worst respawn." I'm like, "Dude, it's fucking ass." Like,
well, yeah. I mean, that was really my big thing about it. I mean, we had this discussion on the last podcast, and we had it in the green room with like I had it with Nameless, and I was like sitting there like, I don't think I could play this because like, as fun as it is, you are everywhere.
I feel like it looks good. It's like a solid map and layout. Like it really is a solid map, but it's just a clusterfuck when it doesn't need to be. Because like a squad spawn will happen, then like a normal spawn out will happen, maybe the same 3 seconds, and like no one's even moved. It's just like what's going on. It's it's interesting. I actually do think competition, without question, is the highest it's ever been, just due to the structure with regards to like it's not the wild west with team changes happening. There's a lot more consistency with coaching staffs and prep and all. It's not about skill anymore. You can't get by and just skill. It's all the little things, bro. It's all the little things and all the prep. Like it's just a different ball game now. But
I would agree. I just think there's also some curveballs. There's things you could prep all day for, and you can't prep for a certain spawn. And we've seen that happen, like where a team just gets screwed by it. But it sounds like this offseason is going to be crazy. I don't really know exactly how much we're going to dive into like leaked rosters. We'll probably, for the most part, wait for official announcements. That's just the way you and I like to do things because
it's because we know things and it's hard to talk about. Like pretend you don't. I hate that.
Yeah, shit. No, we do know things. It's also like we could have an episode on a leaked roster, and then the next day when that comes out, there could be a different leak. So it feels difficult to do that. But we'll do our best for Rostermania. As you said, we're going to have guests on. Should be a lot easier. I think we're looking at someone from New York next week, so it should be a great episode with them. But before we dive into champs, we made a bracket last week. I'm actually curious to see how we did. I feel like we did pretty solid. There were a couple of things that didn't go our way. We started off well.
Seattle and Thieves are our big question marks, and they actually ended up being like our bracket.
But we flipped, right? So Faze obviously losing to Ultra, that kind of. We didn't get points there, and Ultra won the winner's bracket. So that was probably the loss for us there. So let's go now to the loser's bracket if we can.
I think it was like, for the most part, pretty darn good, except for like I said, not even like flipping them, just in general. Like those two teams, I think is what I know I struggle with the most because like Seattle is my big.
Oh, we did not do good. Okay,
Thieves
so we didn't do good.
Well,
it was pretty 50-50 down here. So we had basically, if we would have had Surge where Thieves was, we would have been great.
Yes, exactly that. Like that
but then what happened is Minnesota lost to or beat Rokkr or Minnesota. We had them beating Breach and they lost to Breach.
Yeah.
So. Okay, we didn't do well down here at all. Not great.
Yes, we got the top three, right? Just not the right order.
Just not the right order. Yeah, so what? We had New York, Toronto, and Faze, but we got the order wrong. So our bracket, not great. Not great at all. I think the biggest shocker is probably maybe to some, like Ultra getting all the way through the winners. Maybe you're not surprised by New York. And then down low, Surge. Obviously, they kind of got hot. We'll dive into that a little bit more. But now to show you the actual bracket, just to update everybody at home, kind of what happened. Well, I guess you saw bits and pieces of it right there. But yeah, Ultra through winners. New York through losers. They beat Faze in the losers final. Surge was able to win a couple of rounds. Same with Faze down low. But then, the 5-0 by New York. And I guess we'll start. Where do you want to start?
I think we usually start
the losers?
Like the end. Yeah, start sort of who did the worst, talk about them, and we ramp up to the final. So we can start with I had it started with Rokkr. I thought this was interesting to think about. Like, you know how we were having that chat, I think, with Lamar about how sort of the butterfly effect or like those alternate history type shows. Like New York was 2-0 down, 0-2 down to Rokkr. Like Rokkr, if they win that series, how different this entire goddamn tournament looks.
Well, I just thought about that. Last winners round 1 last year, Thieves was down 0-2 to Boston, and they ended up reverse sweeping as well. You're not wrong. Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of those moments, even like for Optic fans, the New York Optic series. But this sort of kind of what we talked about. It's just we weren't sure. We weren't exactly sure, just because the way the New York Major 5 was with Faze, but it stood true. I mean. You win an event, and then a couple of weeks later, you have another one. It's the best timing in the world for you. Obviously, they got played tough by some really good teams, but when it came down to it, they were able to win it. So, Rokkr were really, really close to beating New York, and then they dropped down to the Boston Breach, and you beat 3-1.
I think Bance, I'll just read it. He tweeted like 5 hours ago. Took a few days to think about the exit from Champs, how the season went. Wanted to apologize for everyone, blah, blah, blah. Didn't do what we set out to do type thing. And I was like, well, I mean, you guys got top 3 and then Champs didn't go well, but I don't think anyone had expectations. But then I was like looking through the stats and like, I think you told me like people were saying Bance and somebody was kind of frying leading in, right?
Scrims. Yeah, I heard Bance and Cameron are playing well.
Yes, those two. But then Bance, man, he's probably someone that I would expect to have a pretty solid Champs. Like, I don't know. He's just got he's hot and cold sometimes, but just the big stage and maybe people getting the jitters, like he wouldn't, but he kind of got bodied. And I sort of understand maybe why he was a little down on himself, because he had a 0.68 in hardpoint, 0.68 in control. Like, he didn't play a lot of maps, but he kind of just went in, got cooked, and that was the end of the rodeo.
Well, I think obviously this team had a lot of roster changes, but I think from a bigger picture, probably what he's apologizing about is take a step back coming into this year.
The team early.
Yeah. I mean, this roster, it was attached Cammy, Bance, and Afro. Like, that was.
We were excited.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone was, and there were rumors how expensive this team, the roster was to build.
True.
I mean, I think when you take a step back, like, it just was not a great year. They did not have the consistency they were looking for. You had Attach out, you had Fame in, you had Afro out, you had Afro in. It was a bit of a mess. And I know what's difficult for this sort of organization, and they also said they let go of Brian Sate, their coach, after like 3 or 4 years. This is a very consistent org for the first couple of years, and it just feels like they haven't found that roster. Again, I don't know. So it's tough because this is a team that's trying to build like those home series and build up hype and build up their.
That's why I think they'll figure it out, though. They're like, it's not like one of those situations like I know Paris had a couple good things happen this year, but like a London or a Paris or people like not spending money or not trying to win. Like, I think this is an organization that is trying to win and willing to spend and doing like the extra steps. So like, I think they'll figure it out, but it has to be frustrating when you're doing those things and not seeing the success. But I guess I'm not worried about the organization.
To counter that, though, like sometimes teams really heavily invest, and then it's like, we can't do that again. We have to build up from young talent, or we got to think about this a little bit differently. It'll be interesting to see. This is a lineup. I don't know if you're Rokkr, maybe there's someone you build around. I guess we'll wait and see. I think Fame had some solid series as a rookie. You always are going to have Attach. We know what Attach can do. It's just a giant question mark. This could be a team wipe when it comes to Rostermania. They could rebuild from scratch.
I didn't I guess watch enough of like Fame individually to know if he's like, a super smart player, or like I don't have a sense of like that yet, like how good he is, but I know just from like a raw talent perspective sometimes, bro, like he had a couple snaps here and there where I was watching and I was like, he's got a little juice, bro. Like he was real snappy and won some ridiculous gunfights at times. So I think the skill's there.
And it feels like he's a great teammate. I mean, he ran the AR, he ran the sub, he did whatever they kind of had to do.
It seems like it. I just don't really know him well yet. Like, how you kind of get to know players and stuff. I'm not really there yet, but he seems like he's got a shot to make some noise down the road.
Yeah, it's just always tough. I feel like if you're an org when you're in this spot, because you're going into a new title and you don't really know if you have like a backbone, like a duo. Like, I feel like the best case scenario is, all right, we have a duo to build off of, or a couple of players to build off of. And now you're sitting there like, I don't know if any of these guys are staying. Do you just bring Fame back? Do you allow him to build a really young roster? Coming from challengers, he may have a couple of ideas, but this will be an interesting org to watch moving forward.
I put like a question, like disappointing after the third place type thing, like question mark. I don't really think so, because I don't think any of us thought that third was like actually a third. Like it was like a Mickey Mouse third. Call what you want, but like they weren't a top 3 team. So
yeah, I mean they beat who was in front of them. It's not like they did that, but
it did not my expectations for champs personally. So not shocked. No. Well, I guess I did pick them to win one series. They might not have. So, all right, Thieves. This is an interesting one, because this is probably the one I struggle with the most when we were doing the bracket. I think Joe and I have said 4,000 times that this coaching staff and this core, we always thought they were going to be a team that figured out at the end of the year, that started to click. Listen, you lose to Ultra, who got to a final. You lose to Seattle, who finally hit a little bit of form at the end of the year. It's not like they're the worst losses, but like, you won champs last year. The expectation is that you're going to make a run, I guess. Like we kind of assumed they'd make a run. They lose 2 game 5s. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is their hard point was not great at all. They were 1-3 this weekend. I mean, if you tell me this team's 50-50 in search and control, like, I think they could probably beat some teams just due to their hard point. I think the biggest question mark for me is Major 2, you get second place. right? And then maybe you have a bit of a stage 3 where it's off, right? Jiraza had a really bad stage, and then they bounce back Major 4 and win. I just feel like with this core roster and with what we saw in Vanguard with their coaching staff, as soon as it's sort of like, all right, we figured out this game, we should be good. And it's like it regressed heavily. And I don't really know why. I guess my guess would probably be just maybe inconsistencies from there were a couple of players.
I'm down to be blunt, but not listen, the fact is, it's one of these situations where there's some distractions and some team related stuff, just shit we can't really dive into because it's not public. But there are some reasons that it went down this way, and probably information that'll come out with time. But they weren't necessarily at 100% going into this. They weren't able to make that run. But
yeah, but I just think in general, if you look at the year, it felt like both of the subs in Kenny and Envoy, one would have a good event or a solid event, and then the other would really struggle. The one event that they both played well, they won. I think Octane was solid for them the entire year. Jiraza, he did have his ups and downs, but when he was playing well, they were difficult to beat. It's just, to me, the sub duo was just could never get on the same page, it felt like.
After they won, I thought they figured it out. I asked Kenny, did you? And he said, not yet. He was serious. He's like, we haven't, not yet. So
yeah,
he was kind of, when he said that, I was like, oh, all right. Because that's sort of admitting, no, we haven't figured it out yet. We're not clicking. We're not playing like we want to. So it was just a good weekend. They never really got that whole just system down. We're going to fry you.
Yeah, no, I don't really know. I think that's especially looking at Hardpoint. They could just never get everyone on the same page, or this, one sub was getting fried. I mean, Envoy had a very solid champs. Kenny struggled. But the fact is, you lose 2 game 5s. It's not the worst showing, but for the world champs and for what we saw, Major 2, Major 4, I thought it was going to be better.
I don't think they're going to be a team that's going to thrive in the unpredictable. And even though we thought Vanguard was the worst, they figured it out, right? When you watch them play Hardpoint, I know the spawns weren't good spawns, but they had it figured out. This game, I don't think you could. There was too much unpredictable shit. And not that the game was fluky per se. There was some consistency with teams, but some teams kind of thrived in that. How New York wanted to play and just run at you and put you down. Their play style. I don't know if they fully figured the game out, but they found out how to play in that chaos, and they did really well with it. And I just don't think that Thieves is that type of team. They're just not, man.
Well, too, one thing I want to touch on is their map pool, because Major 4, I want to say, they were really, really good at Hydro and Mercado. And in a way, I know Hydro with the water routes and everything, but the spawns on those maps, I think, became for teams probably just do their rotations, became the most COD-esque in a way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they kind of got away from that. They played a lot more of, they were playing some Embassy and to me, Embassy, I mean, watching that map is just, it's a box, bro. Good luck. When I play that map, I don't know. To me, that should be an auto veto for them. But it wasn't. It was something that got through.
You said it right. I feel hotels kind of, anything that's a square. I think the spawns work best when it's a rectangle, Hydro. It's wide, right? Most of the best Black Ops 2 maps are longer one way, right? A rectangle. When you just make it a square, I think it's too delicate for things to just get fucked.
No, but Embassy is actually just a box. It's actually a square. It just felt playing Embassy versus Seattle. I don't know. It just felt like there were some maps where this team should have been good at, and they weren't. I think Hydro and Mercado, the two that really stick out to me, they lost 2 of those. They actually won a Mercado, so they probably didn't get it versus Seattle. But yeah. No, they actually got it versus Seattle. They lost Embassy. They played Fortress, Search and Destroy, and LSC Level Control. So, I mean, I feel like those are probably some of the maps you wanted, but still, I was expecting more for Thieves for sure. And now it sounds like we don't know what the hell's going on in that camp.
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be what we say for just about everybody. It's just going to be dramatic, and stuff will be coming out. Hopefully not much between today and tomorrow when it goes live, the episode, and then we look like idiots for not covering it. But let's move on to Optic. Dude, I don't know. It's I've said it, like they've basically since their dynasty team, they've been, I think, mediocre considering like they've had some good finishes, but when you consider that it's Optic, the history and the fact that it's one of the organizations that could get whatever player they want, which is not the case for many. There's an expectation there. And after the couple of second places, you know, fans were chatting up, like, oh, it's time. Now at the end of the year, same shit. Just another year of same shit. You get knocked out in the same fashion, top 6 by Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that stands out is 1-3 in search, 50-50 hard point, but they lost 3 Mercado search and destroys, and that was one of their better searches on the year. I think Ghosty was probably their best player throughout the weekend. Their sub duo could just not get going. And I think when they got their seconds, their subs were in form. When you would watch these guys play, what Hook and Shotzi do very well is they are just a pain in the ass to deal with when they are playing their life and they're getting the first kill. What they do, I think, better than anyone, when you watch them, when they're playing well, is they get the first kill and they are so hard to track or deal with. But if they aren't getting that first kill, like it just feels like teams know how to shut them down.
Like when they're playing ahead type thing, like when they're playing with control and a flow, like when they're controlling the flow, it's great. But it's just wild to think that. I think it was like a month and a half, where I was watching the Scump Watch Party, and like Zinni or Seth was like, Luke's probably the best sub in the game right now, right? Like they were actually talking about that. And then I'm watching Champs and watching his arrow do some things. I'm like,
yeah, I mean, obviously,
why is he going that? Like, why is he going that? Where the fuck's he going? Like
the New York series, the Hydro play, I think we all looked at it, the P2. If that goes different, they go to a game 5.
And people will tweet me, oh, it was a lucky timing. My fucking ass, it was a lucky timing.
Yeah, I should have just sat
Somebody
there.
gave up a lane.
You know, this goes to a game 5. You don't really know. You have the crowd behind you. You get fired up. But those are just the small moments, I feel like, that have plagued this team for the last couple of years. It's the smallest of things. They have the talent. As you said, they have the skill. It's just been these, I don't know, like things that should be worked on in practice. Just sort of airhead plays in a way, I guess, if you want to say. But that goes differently. You get top 3. You're playing Toronto in the winners final. Depending on that matchup, they could have been in a grand final, for all we know. But that's just the way COD is.
Well, I think I said like, verbatim, like a couple podcasts ago or the last one, like they could get top 12 or they could win it. I don't know. Either or. They get hot, I shit on everybody. But like the other thing, like Dashy too, like it's just funny to think about. Like when I know he had a good year. At times, their best player. Like we know what he can be from a talent perspective. But it's just crazy to think about. Like remember when it was like a meme. Optic search used to be laughed at for a long time. Like they just weren't great at search. They was dominant respawn team, and then remember like TJ and Dashy come in, start to change that narrative. They win that first event. They both drop like a 1.6. And then like the later teams, like Optic's actually been really solid in search for a while for the most part. Like they're battling Faze and MW. But like Dashy was kind of like the search guy, like kind of known for helping this Optic team. He was sort of the start of it, I feel like with them getting like good at search. And he struggled. They were 1-3, and like you said, he had like a 0.66 in search. Like his impact was not felt there. Not that it's just on him, but like, I guess my expectations are higher, a little more pressure on him when it comes to that.
Well, and I think
be a game changer.
If you're playing 3 Mercados, that should be a tough AR map, dude. Like,
that's true.
It feels like that's a map where, like, if your subs don't get going, it can be difficult to gain some position.
Your Sib.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bro, that second kill was a fucking joke. I still, like, my jaw dropped. Jack texted me instantly, like, my jaw's on the floor. I'm like, he just snapped, looked like he shot 3 bullets, and he kept going. And I think I looked at you and go, wait, did he kill him? I was mind blown. Dude, that was one of the more disgusting, like, just like drive-bys, bro. Like, that was, whew. Because you know how, like, for casters... Right? For casters, we used to have, like, at times when you're in CODcaster, you would have like a +100 pop up or like another notification that was far more clear that the kill itself happened. Whereas now, like the the hit marker changes colors, like you see the kill feed, but there's not like a. It was plus 100. What else? What am I thinking of? There's always been like something that like
Oh,
you're
like
very,
the orange hit marker. It's like an orange
yeah,
hit
it was
marker.
it was like super obvious the kill happened, but sometimes in this game the time to kill is so low and you don't have that like I have to look at the kill feed. I'm like not sure if he got the kill or a teammate shot him. But there was one of those times where I legit did not know he killed someone until I looked at the kill feed. I was like, what the shit?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, Sib had some individual plays, and you know, you get to a game 5 with Seattle, probably. I mean, I think they're favored there, no doubt, with the year Seattle's had in Search and Destroy. I'm curious. I want to. The thing that Doug said. Did you see that?
I didn't watch it. I just read like the text of the tweet.
Yeah. So he basically says like, Doug kind of calls out dashing away, like change your ways, take accountability, waste of talent if you don't get a ring, and I think that Bruce or Dashy, I think he's played really well. I don't know if I think what's really hurt this team at times has been their roster changes. Like, they had a chance this year to have Hydra on the team. It feels like they just don't always make the right roster changes, and it's hurt their impact.
I'm sure that's a big part of it, or just maybe the overall culture more than it's like just on him. But like I have been openly critical of Dashy in the past just based on like insider info I have of hearing how he is as a teammate and stuff he's done. But like all we've heard since Seth retired from JP or from Shotzi is like he's been, you know, ever since the race stuff went down, like he's been focused and he's been a good teammate and he's been on his shit and he's been playing well. So like I can't be critical of him in this moment, like for this situation, because from everything I have heard, he was doing the right things, to my knowledge. Yeah. To Censor's point, I've said that same fucking thing before. So like, there's something there. I just don't know if it is like right now, based on what we've heard. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he wants to win a ring. I mean, but I think it's kind of right. Like his talent is so high that it feels like there has to be a team needs something else. I don't know if it's the roster, because like a lot of those small moments this year and last year, obviously you had the whole Illy thing. They're not really on him, right? Like there's been a couple like not watching the ladder at whatever major it was. Like,
well, like I said,
it's been other individual plays. It's been difficult. I mean, that's obviously Call of Duty. That's
what I said about like Salmonize combo. Like the talent doesn't matter anymore. Like it does, but like it's not what decides who's winning anymore. Like everyone is talented. It is all the fucking little things. And the little things usually, like these little moments in trying to play mistake free, like that comes from like a disturbing psychotic desire to win and time and practice. And like not everyone is like that. It's just it is what it is. Not everyone has the same level of passion or dives in the same things the same way. But like it's the little shit now, bro, with all the staffs and all the time and all the effort and all the money. Like, it's a little shit. And if some teams aren't getting that stuff done, I don't know if it's a culture problem or what it is. And I don't even know if that's even the case there. We're just not that close to it. But it sort of feels like it's been a little shit hurting them for a while, huh?
Well, yeah. I mean, one player decision here. Like, I don't know. Like, it just feels like. Like that's been sort of the Optic curse, right? It's the player that leaves, whether it was Envoy or Arcees, like that's the person that goes on to win the world championship. Like, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
This is crazy, but I might have just like with how, you know, you had the success with Seth and Formal and Krem and Karma, you had that like period, and then these last like whatever 4 or 5 years have just been trying to recapture that. Like, I know this is dumb. I get it. I'll get for it. But like after Seth retired, I would have treated it like the nuke it was. I would have blown the whole fucking thing up and started over. That's what started fresh.
Well, unfortunately, he did it. He did it in the middle.
I know. I just feel like in general, I feel like I just am like, all right, so that's that. Let's start over. But yeah, middle of a season, you can't really. I know. I'm obviously joking, but like it's just.
Well, there's more to it. Obviously, you know. I mean, Dashy and I think Shotzi are probably the two pillars they'll build around due to. Sort of, I mean, Shotzi's killing it on the content side. And we know it's just sort of, you know, Hector talked about it. This is Dashy's team now, so it'd be interesting to see what they do. There's already some rumored rosters going around with this squad, but it's just one that's always going to be under the microscope.
Yeah, I mean,
because of the name and the following.
100%. All right, but let's move on from that. Let's go talk Breach. Kind of like they were leading into this, like they were pretty solid in control, struggled everywhere else. That pretty much is how it went. Like just from like a map winning like thing. Once we controls, they sucked everything else. I think the big takeaway for me is kind of Clay sat on the desk, and we were sort of wondering, like, you're Snoopy, you're this young player, first time champs, main stage against these teams, hearts pumping. Like you might feel that moment. Seemed unfazed, played pretty damn well. I was impressed. Bright future, cool. That's what I take from Breach.
I mean, he did have a .29 in Surge. That's not good.
Well, they played 2 searches, but
like 3. But I hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not the best, but I think
Search I don't put a lot into when you team for a week. I mean,
you're not wrong. But I think in the respawns, he had his moments. Awakening played really well. They obviously get their win over Minnesota. I didn't expect much from this team. I think this is a really interesting team for me going into Rostermania, because there's some young pieces here that you could build around, and it's a question of, like, I mean, even Clay sort of said it, like, maybe this is a good place for me to go. Like, maybe it is. Like, maybe they just need that veteran to find a home here, or a Cammy or a Vance. Like, I think this is a very real opportunity for a vet to have maybe it is Doug, but to have a really young, solid core around them and try to build some success. I know they had so many roster changes throughout the year, but maybe it wasn't the worst thing to actually see what these players had.
Yeah.
If you're trying to build a future.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some pain before you figure it out. It's just the way it is. there's going to be some bumps. Only other thing I kind of thought about, like, I guess I know it's not a simple thing, but like, I just keep thinking about Wake, bro, back at MW. Like, this guy was a first blood lord, untradeable. Like, his impact in Search was unbelievable considering his role, because he wasn't in a BZ that was sprinting in, winning that fight. Now, granted, that is impossible and he's insane, but like, he would just find his lane with an AR, find his pick, not get traded, guy won rounds for his team, put up double digits all the time. Where the fuck has that gone? Like, when was the last time that was the thing?
Well, he did have a very sort of Search team around him, though, to kind of set him up, maybe. That was like with Skies. You've had like Havoc on the Florida. Like, there was.
This shit was so individual. It felt like that, bro. He was just finding a one-on-one, winning it. Like,
but that could be the vet impact we're kind of talking about. Like, who's here maybe in his ear? Like, do this, do that. Like, go win this gunfight. Like, you don't really have that on the team. I mean, he would have to be that. Him and Beans. Like, I don't know what their communication's like, but it feels like you're relying a lot on the ARs here.
Think about, like, it's crazy, because what do we talk about for a long time? Like, Sky's an Awakening, right? Like, could they win together? Like, Sky's an Awakening. They stuck with it for a long time. Sky's just won a fucking world championship.
Yeah, I mean, I still want to see. I think you see the individual talent here for Awakening. I would love to see him around the right mix. But maybe it's a him thing. Maybe this is another one of those situations where there's more to it. We don't really know. But I mean, it's not like those Florida rosters or this Boston roster was built to win titles. It just hasn't been.
Oh, no. I just I mean, he's when he's on his shit, he's just different. He can take over, and we see it time to time in Respawn. But I was thinking about Search, not really what it once was. But yeah, we don't talk too much about Breach.
Could also be the game. I mean, yeah,
that's a good point too. It's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like usually like good Search players kind of are good title to title typically.
Figured out no matter
you're
what.
Either kind of like I think Pac-Man said to me once, or tweeted it, like, you're either a good Search player or you're not. Like, it's just a different game. Like, that's what's kind of crazy about COD, like how different it is from your respawns, but it's a totally different like way of looking at the game. And like, sometimes it's just true. Like, not many people like get better and become good Search players. Like, you're just like good at Search or you're not. It's not, there's some truth to it, but let's talk Surge. Dark Horse coming in 100% purely because it's Surge, and even though this year was more down than up, they have been a roller coaster since the get-go. It's this weird and freaking insane combination of, like, you have the two sick, twisted rookie type players, And then you have Mac, who's probably the biggest X Factor player of all time with his swings. And then you have Lamar, who kind of the same shit in the sense, I don't know if Lamar's going to give me 7 or 25. And you just don't know what the fuck you're going to get map to map. It's the weirdest shit. Mac is the biggest weirdo player anomaly I've ever probably watched.
Yeah, we were talking about it in the green room. It kind of reminds me of Pristini in a way.
That's probably the one comparison you can think of. Like,
it just feels like, I mean, Pristini played on like a higher sense, and he took some crazy gunfights.
He played so fast, it sort of leads to that sort of thing sometimes. Like when you play that pace,
very similar. I don't know.
I don't know if he's playing at a Pristini pace.
Played pretty quick, it feels. I mean, he's leading the team in hardpoint at Champs by 5 engagements.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe more to that than I thought. I think of Pristini as like literally having wings, but yeah.
I mean, plus too, the way they built or the way they played hardpoint in this game and in some of the respawns was sort of ARs in the hill and the other two go around. I mean, that was like how Pred was farming teams for a while. But they lose to Faze twice. They beat LA Thieves and Optic in game 5s. Listen, if you told me this team was going to go 2-6 in hardpoint, I'd probably tell you they're not doing very well, but they got a top 4 behind it. They went 4-2 in Search and Destroy. They went 50% in the controls. They obviously lost both controls to Faze.
And sort of like, I know they won
Faze, but yeah.
It may be a similar issue with like Thieves. Like you look back, there was that interview Puckett did with Pred, and he was sort of talking about going into Champs or one of the final majors, and Pred's like, we were the best hardpoint team in the game. We were 9-1 going into this. Like they were a very good hardpoint team at times that just could not get hardpoint down in this game. Like at the end, like Thieves lights out in hardpoint into last year, like just couldn't get it down in this particular game. That magic wasn't there. You know, the Tuscan magic and all those insane runs and what they were able to do. They just didn't have the sauce in hardpoint in this particular title.
Well, I think their map pool really hurt them early on. Obviously, they always auto-vetoed Mercado, and you just cannot have an auto-veto nowadays. With the matchups, the way it works out, it's very difficult. What do they have to play here a couple of times in Mercado? They lose both of them here.
It's one of those little things like we were talking about. It's that alone. It's just like you can't.
They lost Embassy twice and Fortress twice. That's their 2 best hardpoints, but it just didn't feel like it was on for them. Search and Destroy, they finally got better at it here, but then they went 2-2 in controls. They played 2 Asilos. They won both of those. They just lost 2 hotels. I mean, this was the kind of what we talked about coming into this. This is a team that could just pop off randomly. It's their DNA. They put some teams in the blender, surprised some people. Sib had some incredible moments. Mac had some moments. Obviously, you have Pred. I think, I would probably want a little bit more from Lamar in terms of just being consistent in that main AR role. But
yeah, we had him on and he talked about it. He can be up and down. He knows it, dude. He takes the flack when he's not playing well. But like we did kind of gas him for a bit before this. Like it was qualifier 4 or 5. He was actually playing really well. Like he was having some monster maps. Sort of like we saw like Slasher like starting to improve just numerically. Like the stats were getting better. But like this one, listen, there are a lot of people that expect your main AR to put up like a 1-1, 1-2 because that's you just really need to sit and shoot straight sometimes. But like Lamar's a guy that's putting up like a 0.9 to a 1 sometimes. I get that. He's just not there's a ceiling there sometimes with him. There just is, but like he had like a 0.7 in respawns. I just don't. How you can't win hard points when that's like,
no,
it's very tough. It just is, and I love Lamar, but he has had a bad event in response. He did, but like I think the fact that you hit the 4th, considering the roller coaster, listen, they're probably not pleased about it, but listen, if that's your final event as a squad, you fucking shook up the tournament. You did like that. That Seattle is what made this tournament like more fun than it probably would have. Just in the sense of like upsets and like wackiness. Like they were the X factor, the dark horse. So you made some noise. That's probably the end of the rodeo there. I mean,
talk about a couple of dominoes. Yeah, talk about a couple of dominoes. I mean, where does Sib and Pred go? Who rebuilds Seattle? That's a big question mark here.
This is probably the domino, right? This is probably the domino. Pred. If I was picking one fucking domino, Pred's probably the domino, right? Everyone's waiting to see what happens with Pred, if I had to guess. I could be full of shit, but
I mean, the one rumored roster, right, that came out with the Optic. It didn't have Pred, which I think everybody was very surprised by, because I assumed Optic Pred, no doubt about it. If he decides to go somewhere else, or if like Optic decided, no, we should do this instead,
I'd be mind blown if someone made a decision before he did, or like they at least knew he wasn't going there. Like I guess I wouldn't see anything getting locked up until that decision's made, unless it's a team that just knows they're not getting him. I don't know. Or some people don't think he's as good as he is. I mean, maybe there's some more issues we don't know about, but like in my eyes, he's pretty fucking good.
Yeah, he's really good. I think so. I think he's proved it.
He's got like the look, dude, the personality. Like he's like a face of a franchise guy, bro.
I agree. It feels like he's a killer, which I think some of these teams need. I really do. Like it feels like. Yeah. Huh? Your water? Yeah, you gotta stay hydrated. But yeah, Sib as well. Just I think he's another one. Like, I'm excited to see him sort of elsewhere and how he flourishes, because obviously the big talk of the town with Seattle was always Pred. Sib kind of right behind him, but Sib could be a superstar on a roster.
I don't know what Sib's deal is. Like, listen, that guy's handsome, bro. He looks like he's like Cristiano Ronaldo handsome. I feel like I can see him walking out like a field for Spain. Like, man, you like, dude, he's just like,
dude. Maybe we get him on, dude. Maybe we get on and talk to him.
I want to know him. I DM him every now and then. Like, I DM'd him after his like 1v3, and he's like, "That's good gas. What's up, baby?" or something. He I don't like know him at all, but he just like oozes fucking confidence. His Instagram photos like him covered in sweat, shirtless after he worked out. Like, I don't know what his deal is. But like, yeah, I need more of him in my life. I do want to have him on, because I feel like, he's one of, I really not pride myself, but like, I've been doing this a long time. I've been around forever. I'm friends with a lot of players, or like try to know players well. And like, there's just some rookies that we're working part-time in the league now. There's not as many lands and stuff. Like, we had the land league. I knew fucking everybody, but like,
yeah, land league, everybody knew everyone. Right?
Yeah. He's definitely someone I just want to like, what's his deal? What's his first name? Like, Dante. What's his first name?
Dante.
Like, who the fuck is named Dante? The only people named Dante.
You gotta be a Giga Chad, bro.
Yeah,
you gotta
fucking
be a
Dante.
Chad. Dante.
What is that name?
You gotta be a Chad if your name is Dante. You're not wrong.
Yes, I want to know
dude,
Dante.
But when I see him at events, dude, and he like daps me up, I'm like, damn, this guy's strong.
He's like, winks at me, bro. I'm like, yeah. I'm nervous, bro. Like butterflies.
But yeah, I mean, and let's not forget as well, Mac was a flex, I believe, before this roster. Like, he was never really I think he's in. If a flex, here's another, like, going into Rostermania, what teams really need to think about is,
sub an MW at first?
He was a flex. He was a flex.
Did he not come on as a sub?
He was at 4.
Yeah.
You and I know this. 4v4 COD is more naturally 3 subs, or sort of 50-50, 3 subs, 2 ARs.
Starts 2 and 2, and then slowly, most maps outside of like 1, maybe 2,
maybe a couple,
is 3 subs by the end. Almost every single COD title until like the last 2 years.
The last 2. And that is where your flex is very, very important, because you have to have speed. You have to know when to slow down with an AR. That's where guys like, I don't know.
We don't even have flexes right now. Flex isn't a thing. Like,
right. You have like a slower really AR and a faster one. It's not really someone who pulls out a 3rd sub.
Yeah, real flexes were like drastically different, like play styles at times. Like, yeah.
So if the flex comes back into play, to which in that way, like, Mac could be a very important piece on some of these teams.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, versatility is really not as valuable an asset as it has been at times. I mean, yeah.
I mean, the only situation we've had was been like the LA Thieves one last year, where Kenny pulled out a sub and draws around an AR. Like,
I think really, people,
like some role switching, but
people joke about it. Like, Seth was like, "Let me pull out an AR." Like, when they get later in their career, like, "Let me run an AR." Like, it's easier. Let me run an AR. I'll chill. I'll post up. I'll trigger. Like, as much as it's like memed and joked about, it's just kind of a fact. It's way harder to run around and fly with a sub, just based on timings and the gunfights. You're not pre-aimed. You are jumping at people. That's why BZ is so impressive, and he's a freak of nature. But like, yeah, that's why what you're saying, like the flex, when you have to do that more, and B, just playing at that pace and the timings of it, we just haven't had it. It's weird to think about, like, why we just haven't had it.
I thought for sure we needed it at times this year. I did.
The Faze is so good.
Yeah, just the way the maps were, but we didn't. So maybe that'll change, or maybe there'll be a third gun. I know a lot of people love when there's like a third gun option, sort of like that flex roll.
That's true. You didn't mention that, but when we had like, the K-bar, the Maddox, it's a little bit different. But like, let's go. Actually, I kind of want to go through it now. I'm just thinking about it. So let's start like, where do you want to begin? Like BO2 or something? Maybe it's just like probably.
That was AN94 you had as a flex weapon, or you ran like 3 subs on some maps, yeah, or specific hills. I mean, that was like,
I think you saw
something that was very
MSMCs all the time. Like,
I don't think it was all the time, but it was a good amount of time. Or you had the AN94.
And
so there was a flex going there.
I remember like M8. I don't remember the AN94 being run like a ton. Like I feel like I remember like Killer running it, and like it was used sometimes, but never.
Like BitT ran it. There was definitely some moments for some maps. Some people ran it on like CTF just because it like was a gun you could play pretty quick with.
Yeah. Ghost is weird because that was like it was like that with the Remain 10 and the MTAR, but then it became like 4 vectors.
AW? That got.
Well, that was at the end is when it's usually at the end. The end's when the sub came into play because the battle was the do it all gun.
Yeah, that might have been it too.
Yeah, that one was weird, but like the sub that game didn't even have a sub at times. I thought it was like Black Ops 1. Was it like 4 battles for a while, but then the one sub, I can't think of the name of it. ASM1 or what the hell was it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that became like really good at the end, so that was a bit weird.
That's all I'm saying. Usually there's a couple of maps where you're running 3 subs, and that really it affects your map pool. I think we touched on map pool. That could be really important moving to the future. I think it's a better way
to word it. I think it's like it's not always 3-1, but it's like it becomes more sub heavy. Like if it might be 3 ARs at first. By the end, it's 2 subs or 2 down to 2 to 3. Like it just usually the pace picks up 4 subs, but not been the case. Is I guess the overall. Anyway, okay. That roster is fucking done. Let's go to Faze. This one's funny as shit. So we had Simp on, right? And I listen. I was a bit of a dick. I'm grilling Simp about their hard point. It was 30 and 38 at the time. It was so bad. They worked so hard to get their hard point to a better spot. And yes, this weekend they relied on some ice and some miracles, and they were sloppy at times. But their hard point, they won hard point and search in a fashion that would win them a tournament. For the first time in 4 years, these motherfuckers forgot how to play control. Like it to me, what it looked like. Okay, in past titles, no, I could break this down. Just watching it was pissing me off. Listen, in past titles, a lot of the times with how they played and how the maps were, you needed to like get a good 3-4 down in order to stack the point. That is how it played. You wanted to play for map control. You want to play for a 3-4 down. Map control was more important. Get those kills, get to the point. In this game, 1 down. Hit it. 2 down. Hit it. Like, just create chaos and get on the point. The number of times I saw 1 kill lead to a stacking capture or 2 kills, like, you did not need to play like that same controlled control. Like, you didn't have to. You wanted to make it, like, chaotic. Like, just how many times do you see this year?
If a CeeLo was different in scrims, the matches, or what. But whatever the hell they were doing.
I thought there was lava on the control points.
Bro, whatever the hell they were doing on a CeeLo control, it got to the point where they obviously had to veto it. And you couldn't play a CeeLo control versus New York. So what did you have to play? You end up having to play them on their best map, hotel control. That's what we talk about with map pool. That's why it's so important. Dude, I don't know what the fuck happened. I have no idea.
If Faze's control was 90% of what their control has been for 4 years, they win the tournament. But they just were lost in dog shit compared to everybody else.
I don't even know, man. Bro, their stats in hardpoint were great, but even their hardpoints, everything came down to a couple of plays.
Well,
something here is just wrong.
You're not wrong. Like I was really thinking this because we casted a lot of it at Champs, and I was wondering like if their hard point like it was actually fixed and they like figured it out. And at first I was like, maybe they did. They started to win some, but yeah, the more we casted and watched, I was like, they didn't like figure it out or really get that much better. Like there were some improvements, but like I said before, there was like a chart that had, you know, points for and against in hardpoint. Faze was literally 220, opponents 220. Because all of their games came down to the final moments. It was like a 20 to 50 point game, and they threw away or choked, where the other team clutched up so many over the course of the year. At Champs, all those little moments, they iced up. I fucking think the game is over. A Celium fucking missile comes from the sky, kills 2. They clutch up and win. Like they had the ice and they clutched up in so many moments. But like,
or was it BZ?
Yeah,
they could have easily. They could have easily. They're 7-3 in hardpoint champs. I think that could have been a 10, 5-5, 4-6, like very easily.
You're right, but the fact is, they won them. So they won enough hard points to win the tournament. Their control was. Dude, I don't know. We were casting it. I was like, what am I watching? Like they would lose. They'd lose a round, and they only had 3 deaths. And I'm like. Or not lose a round, like they lose a point. Like they lose a point, like 2 people would have died or something. I'm like,
dude, I mean, listen, something is missing from this team. I think it's been missing. I thought maybe it was going to be Austin. I don't know how Cells has a 1.5 and we're losing series. I don't know. It feels like either it's a confidence thing or a comms thing. Someone or something is changing from practice to matches, and it is fucking them. And it feels like they are missing.
Cell's a problem. I don't care what
they are missing some sort of like killer attitude or instinct. Hey, listen, if I was on a stage and this was my team, I'm talking like I know people boo them, but they're like, whatever. Bro, if my team was this good and had this consistent of placings, I'm talking shit to everyone. I know how good we are. You know, like that old formal sort of like mentality, like I'm going to fucking smoke you. Yeah. They are missing something here that they need. And I don't know what it is, but it's not good enough.
I think a couple things. Year,
it was at W19. They had a bunch of seconds. I don't know.
I think Simp's biggest flaw as a player is he seems to lack some confidence and doesn't like realize that he is a god and sometimes tries to play for his teammates too much. And I think some of it just applies to the whole team in the sense of like they're actually, as much as people want to boo them, they're villains. Oh, they're so cocky. Like they're actually just like nice kids.
Yeah, they're very chill
to play COD, and I don't know that they even have like a killer instinct, except every now and then it comes out. But I just don't know that they have that. And like you put Scrap on that team, take Slasher up, put Scrap on that team. I'm not sure they lose a map again. And it's not even because Scrap is like disgusting. I think his fucking delusional confidence and swagger, if 5% of that rubs off on those 3, they never lose a map.
It certainly feels that way. I don't know. Cell might have a 2.5 at that rate, and then who knows? I don't get it.
I don't want to hear Cell stats anymore. I'm done with it. Cell, to me, I love him, but that motherfucker is a problem, and no one can convince me otherwise. I don't give a shit if you have a 1.7 if you're losing. If you're losing maps and he has a 1.7, I don't care. You lost the map. They're losing too many maps where his KD is insane for 2 years. Too many maps are lost, and this guy's got a 1 point whatever. Something's off. I think maybe he needs to be a main AR or like, dude, I don't know.
He is. I think he needs to be the flex. I think they need a 3 sub game where he can run a 3rd sub.
Three sub game would be amazing. But like, okay, say he is what he is, then you don't have a slasher. Because you like basically had 2 main ARs at times. Or if he's closer to AR than like a flex. Like Scrap is more
I think
he's a flex, and Scrap's not a flex.
It's more like when you have the gun in your hands, you play differently. Like you don't play that slow with a sub in your hands.
Yeah, true. But have you watched Scrap with a fucking tack? Go watch Scrap with attack, and then watch Cell with attack.
I hear you.
Scrap does shit nobody else does, but that man runs around like it's a Vaz sometimes. Like,
well, I mean, some of these some hills Cell would pull out the sub, and he obviously looks really comfortable. I don't know. I don't really know what it is.
Fact is, that trio's not breaking up, so good luck figuring it out.
Do you think this team breaks up?
Yeah, I think there'll be a change, and I don't think Slasher was. I don't think Slasher was the problem. I think he played fantastic, like statistically towards the end. I think he is 100% what this team needed from like a leadership and like a hard work and a get better and fix things perspective. I think if Arceus was there this year, they wouldn't have got 3rd at Champs. They probably would end up crumbling. Abizi wouldn't have gave a shit, blah, 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 blah. Like he helped he helped get the team on their bullshit, and I think him alone probably helped the BZ a bit, like get back on his bullshit. But like, it comes out of this, Joe. I think they just know they should be winning everything, and they're not. And it's going to come down. They're not going to get rid of Cell. Like Cell's not going to be off the team. It's not going to happen. So you need to get someone that is going to work with that. And I don't know that like Slasher, that like play style is what's going to get it done. Now, granted, if this was Cold War, this team might have lost the map. Like if this was a more traditional COD, Cold War or a Black Ops 4 or something, maybe this team just fucking shits on everyone. But I don't know that I have that expectation. So,
yeah, I mean, there was sort of the rumor, or I think Shotzi talked about it, where he almost joined Faze and they simmed to flex. I mean, this could be, you talked about like the Pred thing. I mean, this could be the domino. I don't know. Like, it's a potential, I guess.
I know. See, I don't think that's the answer. You need someone that wants to get their tongue out and lick the fucking objective. Lick it.
You don't think Pred could be that sort of that killer? I think he.
Oh,
could
you just mean the attitude of it? Maybe, but like
well,
that's
I think Pred and Abizi would be a disgusting sub duo.
Yeah, who's getting the hard point in the control points? Cell's not doing it. Those two aren't doing it.
Well, I mean,
is Sib just going to set up a fucking tent in the goddamn objective for all times? Then we're right back to fucking square one of him not being God when he should be.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's the
like, someone's got to get in the fucking objective. I think you'd be better off getting Censor than you would fucking Pred if you want to win some maps. I don't even know that I'm kidding. Like, you got to get the control point to win.
I don't know.
I was legitimately worried there was a poison gas on the control point.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I have no idea what. I mean, this is just a team where, like, I could see them sticking together. I could see maybe a change. I think the interesting would be like, does one of the big three go somewhere else? Like, is there a lucrative enough offer elsewhere, or do they just want a change of scenery? Because that could happen. We've had that happen in the past, where sort of dynasties break up just due to the fact that I need something different. Because if you take Cold War out of this, Maeve, MW19, yes, it was consistent and they won some, but there was also a good amount of finals losses, right?
They haven't placed outside the top three one time in 4 years. I mean,
I understand. It's not about the top three though. I'm talking about the finals. You look at Vanguard, how many finals they lost? This year, did they lost one final, right?
I just don't think they've been good, Joe. They have not been good. They are getting by on the fact that they are gods. They have not been a good team from like a communication and like they have not been a good team for a long time. They haven't been. You can't convince me otherwise. They have not been a good team. They are just very good players.
I mean, I hear you. I just question. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what happens? It's an interesting one because I could see someone being like, I just gotta get out of here.
I think you need to like find out how to do some sort of like hypnosis where like Cell plays, but Crowder's brains in him. Like you get the
someone like needs to do like a
Cell, but Chris's brain.
Maybe like one day when I'm bored or something, or like I just go back and watch his arrow because I don't know. Like I don't really want to blame him because I don't see enough. But I just know a 1.5 when your team's losing, it's usually not the best answer.
It's been happening for 2 years. Like there's something.
I hear you, but I don't want to tell. Like I don't want to put the blame on him. I just don't. Like, it's tough for me to do that.
I am.
Okay. Well.
Something's got to change. Something's got to change.
Maybe I'll do a Celium case study in the offseason.
And I'm not like saying he's a bad player. I think he is disgusting. But like, I think this comes down to he's just playing a little too safe a lot of the times. When like you got to get, especially in like stuff like Control. Like I was saying, like, listen, you just got to play a little reckless now, bro. You just have to. Like, just if you watch Control this year, one down, maybe two, bang, hit that shit, create chaos. And like, I don't know if he necessarily wants chaos now. I feel like he used to.
Well, the guy obviously wants chaos because he snakes the fuck out of everything.
Well, yeah, he just like he doesn't like. I'm trying to think of a way to like. He reminds me of. Trying to think of how to make this comparison. Reminds me of like Prime Formal in a way. Like take jetpacks out of it, but like, all right, if you watch Scrap play, Scrap is going around his ego challenge shit, playing fast. Like he'll take whatever fight he's gonna give a fuck. Formal always like. Hook did this too, like back in AW. Like. They are very good. If they are going to take a fight, they have the advantage. Like positionally, getting shot first, they will have the advantage. They always play to have like superior position in the advantage in a fight. And Cell does that to the super ultra fucking ultra max. I think he's just always doing it. He's like always just wanting to be in the spot to win the fight and get the kill to the super ultra.
But like he creates the own spot with his snaking. I don't know. Like honestly, maybe one day you and I just literally go back and just watch, and maybe we'll figure it out. But it's just like tough for me. Like the theory, or what do they call it? Like the hypothesis makes sense to me. But I haven't watched his individual arrow and point of view enough for me to say yes. Like that it is, right? You know what? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, it's also hard to even just do that because it's so like just the way these recent CODs have been, man. Like sometimes it's just the smart play is not the best play. It's just doing something fast. Like it's just make a decision. The team hits shit. Like I don't even know how to word what I'm trying to say. Like, it's just these little fucking moments of chaos, bro. And like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with Faze, but another top 3 for them. They're obviously not happy about it. I mean, I think for the year, it's just they obviously get a win.
Just to clarify what I'm saying, like looking at the arrow, like it might look dumb that he should have flown at this by himself type thing. Like that might be dumb. Like he was thinking that was dumb
to
do.
I think it's
like,
more
doing that creates a domino of allowing a PZ to get in position that then opens something up. Like it's complicated. It is.
I know. I play at a really high level.
Yeah, I know. Well, I've been just looking at viewers, and I was kind of rambling. Like it's hard to say like, oh, if he just went this direction, you know. But.
Well, I think it's more just how many times do people pass him, and when's the is there a chance where he on the objective and potentially make a play? There's lots of little things, but. Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with this Faze team. I mean, what do you think? Is this a better year for them than last year with the win? You and I, we were having that combo, Chris.
Yeah. No, I think so. 100%. Like, just because you got the win and you got top 3s. It's not like before you got top 2s. This time you basically did the same shit, but got a win. How I view it, I guess. I don't put much difference between second and third. So you got top 3s, you got a win. I don't think it's like way better, but. At least you won one. We're still like, much as we're rambling about them, and still the most consistent team in the league again, still first in the CDL. Like I'm talking like points. Like,
yeah, well before champs, right?
You get CDL points for champs? I don't even know. I think it ends when the league ends.
Yeah. So, but yeah, going into champs, they were number 1. Yeah. All right. Toronto Ultra. Whoo, did they look good? And then they didn't look good.
Yeah.
I mean, they go 5-2 in hardpoint. They talked. I mean, we talked about their hardpoint. If it looked better, they have a chance. They were 5-0 in hardpoint before the final. What 50%?
I like on breaking point, you can like remove like one thing to exclude. So I just like looked at the stats with the final on it, and I was like, God damn. But then you add that in.
I mean, they were cooking. They had some really tough matchups. I think the big surprise was the 3-0 over NYSL. In the winners final, and everybody was like, holy shit. Yeah, they certainly did. I think you just had moments from everyone. You had moments from Kleenex. Scrap was obviously the consistent slaying beast that he was. Hixie, I know he had a .77, or like his stats are great, but like the winners final, he played really well in the search, destroy, and control. I mean, it's just the final. I think I watched the first 2 maps Sunday, and I was like, these guys it doesn't feel like they're like warmed up. Like New York were just gunning them.
Yeah, it really did. And the one stat that stood out to me, it's so hard to talk like numbers because you had like 1 hard point in the winners final. You had 2 hard points. It's like 3 maps, but like the winners final, Kleenex is kind of there. If someone's going to fly around and fry and, play at the pace of the 99 Kismet and like getting their cheeks. Like if someone's going to do it, it's Kleenex. And in the winners final, he had like a 1.4 in the hard point. In the final, what did he have? I put a 0.64 across the 2 hard points. Like if he can't get going, this team's not going to, it's not like Hixie has some solid moments, but like they need Kleenex to get kills in a hard point. They all got
been
slammed.
Sort of the issue, I think, maybe with the respawn on the year is sort of in their subduo. I think Kleenex is more of like your BZ Kismets, and you don't have a slaying sub next to him. Like you probably want like Kleenex to maybe turn into that slaying sub, but with how quick he plays, I don't know if that's going to happen. Like I would love potentially to have like more of a slaying sub next to Kleenex. I think this is the issue last year with bans. I do.
I mean, they won an event and like they got to a final. Like you can win with this formula. You don't need a slow slaying sub. Like you can have a more objective minded sub and like a crackhead type sub like Kleenex. The problem is it's just the consistency. The consistency is tough for the Kleenex type player. It just is. Like that's why we gas up Easy so much, because he is the only one that has done that. Every other one, like you're gonna have ups and downs like that. And yeah, maybe they don't need a slang sub. Maybe they just need like either Hixie to improve or get more comfortable, or like someone that can be Hixie, but like when they need to pop off, they can. Like they're the objective guy. Sure, they put up 0.9s, but like if Kleenex is struggling, they can, I don't know, have those pop offs.
Maybe. Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, you need kills at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, I obviously they worked on their hard point big time going into champs again, 5-0 outside of the grand final. I mean, a hell of a year. I know they probably want that Men in Black thing to hit the button, and they want to redo Sunday all over again. It's similar to what the winners final looked like for New York. That's how that final looked like for them. Like it really did. It just felt like you didn't have both teams on at the same time.
I just wonder, like, both teams wanted it, obviously. Do not get me wrong. But remember how Bance said, like, the Ultra team, when he was on it, they didn't really watch VOD or, like, scrim or prep real heavy. It was, like, sort of a go hard in the moments we need to, then chill type thing. Remember, what did he say exactly? Like, they didn't really
overdo
VOD,
it,
right?
pretty much.
They didn't overdo it.
That was cold. I don't know about this team.
I don't know if it is still like that, but it sort of seemed like one team overdid it and came in ready, and one team was sort of like, here we go. Let's win.
If I was the champs final team Sunday, and like we started at noon, and I get that that's pretty early for a champs final, I would have paid out of pocket. Like, I don't know, if I would have found 4 players, a team, a challengers team, I would have paid them like 10 grand, 20 grand, and be like, please show up and warm us up for 2 hours. Or an hour. I guess
you would think, even if like that's the thing, like I know warming up is a thing, but like, I don't know. Usually, even you get slam map 1 and you start to get rolling. Like they just never got rolling.
Well, I think that they Kleenex had some big what was the third map? It was Control Hotel, I think.
Yeah, that's why I thought maybe they had some life for a second.
As soon as they lost that, I was like, because then you went into an embassy hardpoint, or sorry, a Hydra hardpoint, and then an embassy search, and yeah, I don't know, man. They lost a lot of their bigger maps early. Like some of their best maps they lost early, and I think people knew it was trouble for them.
I just hate saying like someone wanted it more, because everyone it's champs, like you want it badly, but New York, I just think the scrap comment, I think you talk your shit, but I think that particular comment saying without, take Hydra out of it and the rest are dog shit, like that particular comment. I love that he talks shit before, during, and after series. I do.
He owns it. Yeah.
And I want him to keep chatting his shit. He has become one of my favorite players in the league. I love him. But that comment, I'm not saying it's why New York won, but it sure as fuck made them want it more. No doubt in my mind, they had a conversation about just skull fucking him in game. Like 100%.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
You know what I mean? I don't know why that came out of my mouth, but they wanted to shit on him bad. And Kismet, I think it's JCap that says 99 kills sometimes. Like he's a Madden card. Sometimes you get like 80 kills. That was 99 kills, and he is unstoppable when he's in that form. Woo,
yeah, of course. I think with Ultra, I mean, I thought this team was going to stay together. Now it sounds like maybe there may be some changes. We'll have to see what happens with Ultra, but I like this roster a lot.
I do too.
I was nervous because we liked the Ultra roster before this with Cammy and Bance, Insight, and those guys, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
I think the issue probably right now, if I was them, is like, you have a team that can do well and make deep runs in tournaments and win the occasional one. But I would think we are real close to having a team that is like kind of back on like a Cold War bullshit type thing. Like we're a contender with like one other team. I think Scrap is like that good, and like they feel like they are close. That's how I view it. Like we are real close to having a championship team.
Well, it feels like with sort of their pedigree, people may want to come here.
Yeah.
To the org. I mean, like this is a team, like if you join this squad, you have a chance at winning. Can't really say that about many other places.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for their future, and dude, Scrap has been such a breath of like fresh air for me. Just taking us back to like the early days of COD and shit talk and passion, and like I've always said the COD's more like the WWE than it is like major sports. It's just far more fluff and entertainment, and dude, he is. I can't say it more. He's so good for the league. I know people are gonna hate him. People are gonna love him, but I fucking love it. I love it.
Yeah, he knows that as well. All right, on to our world champions. Congratulations to the subliners. It stayed true to it. If you win that last event, you have a really good chance.
Let me post a question to start this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start with a question because I was talking to Octane and I asked him if this has ever happened. He said, I've never seen any shit like it. Can you think of a team that came out for the first tourney? You win that, you look like you're miles ahead. Like almost like TK some of the years. Like you look like you're like way ahead, you dominate the first event. Then for the next 5 months, you are kind of mediocre, can't figure it out. Looks like you're trying to recapture that magic. We've seen teams try to recapture, like, I don't know, like Optic, when they're going through stuff, they got the win, they were trying to like get that back. But to stick together through the struggles, not make a change, and then somehow at the end of the year, you're miles ahead again. And you like win the final event in Champs. Like, has there ever been something like that? Like, I can't even think of anything close.
I don't think so.
Because like TK changed drastically. I know they made it to the final then at Champs that year, but like that was a whole different team. Like,
yeah, I think this tweet shows it, right? First place, and then 7th through 8th, and then last, and then they started getting better. 4th, and then they won the last 2. I don't think so.
I can't think of anything like remotely like it. I think it's a really cool story.
You have to get props to sort of this roster, the maturity that's on it, right? That's obviously what you have.
A lot of things would have changed, bro. I think after the last, maybe.
What a pickup like Kismet's been. Because, I mean, even last year at the Pro-Am, that's when this roster turned it around. Even during Vanguard, that's when they had a chance, was when they picked up Kiz. Like, obviously, Hydra's the league MVP. But the other
he's the killer. He's the killer, I think, Kiz. You know, I said like you need one. I think he's the killer. Maybe not in an interview, maybe not, but like in game and like to his team, I bet you he's the fucking killer.
Yeah, when he's going off, his team's probably winning by 200 points on a Hydra hardpoint. And they were. Kiz is.
He's a bad man when he's in form. He looks like he's like not many people I think can match like a BZ's best. You know, like a BZ at his best is just the fucking best. A BZ at his worst is still close to the best. Like his hits that level.
He does.
I don't know that anyone else does ever. Like
I think you see glimpses from Kleenex, but not as much as like from Kismet.
As consistent as he does it, I guess. Yeah, like it's not like it's a couple times a year type thing. Like he just hits this.
It's
99 kids, bro.
Yeah, it's pivotal. I mean, it really is. Obviously, you got to get a lot of props to the AR duo, Skies and Priesta. And Priesta, I mean, winning his first ring, this was his 3rd Champs final, able to finally get that. What he lost with 100 Thieves and then with Faze in MW19.
I am so fucking happy for him because he's just a incredible guy. And he is
also most land wins in a CDL now.
That's awesome. He is also someone that I think like struggles with like confidence and like self-image type stuff. Like he's just a reserved guy, and like I think his ups and downs at some time that he's had, like it's just like a confidence thing. He gets in his own head. I think
any player does, but yeah.
I think some people are more susceptible, dude. You know how it is. And I think he just really would go through it sometimes mentally. And I think this team just got him to the right place. And when Priest is in the right place, he doesn't drop a three kill game and then he's out of the series mentally. He bounces back and fucking shits on you the next game. He's disgusting. He is so talented when he's on.
And one of the true flexes in the league too, kind of what we talked about. This guy can run a sub, he can run an AR, he does it all. Yeah,
good teammate, like he's just great, bro. He really is.
Yeah, and then we had Skies on the podcast, another great search and destroy. I mean, it was the last major where his sniper was just, he wasn't missing. He's got a 2.13 in the final here. Kids at a 2.75 in the search. It feels like, obviously, I'm sure he helped really lock in their search and destroy with his mindset. But Kisman, I think he said it, whether it was an interview at Major 5 or he said it somewhere. I remember reading it, but basically he felt like he had to take over a little bit more with the comms and trust himself, then let him off the leash. And it feels like that really changed this team. And maybe he was just trying to do too much. We kind of say that.
Who said that?
Kids said that.
Oh, okay.
Like there was a moment where it just felt like he had to play a different role or play with more confidence and trust himself. And I could see that.
It seems like this team just like really was a good, solid team when it came to just like confidence in each other and building each other up. Because like I found Priest's tweet right after, and the second half of it, my whole team brought me to a different level of confidence this year. I cannot thank them enough. Like it seems like it was just very healthy. And Skies kind of talked about it. Like there was no like looking over your shoulder, worried you were going to get dropped. They were all like in it together with the same level of dedication and wanting to improve and get better and figure it out. And like,
that's just sometimes you don't figure it out and sometimes you do. And they certainly did towards the end of the year. So congrats to them. I mean, I think it's crazy just coming into the year. I think we probably had the middle of the table. Maybe they could get a top 3, a top 4 here and there, but they won 3 events.
Well, I mean, I was hyped when the team first formed because I thought they'd be very good, but yeah, in the middle of the year, who knew? I want to talk about the just Hydra in general, like how awesome it's been just for him. Like you come over, you can barely speak English. There hasn't been a lot of success for players on an international level, like at all. I know there's been some, but it's a very small fraction. And it just hearing him in an interview, how much he worked on himself, like to be a better teammate, and his English. And he is different. He is one of the most talented people we have ever watched, and I think he has cemented himself as the greatest international player of all time. And that for a long time was Bance, and then Zero,
Trey,
and then back to Bance, and I mean, early days you could talk Tommy and them or whatever, but like more recent, it was those two. And this motherfucker came in a couple of years, took over the scene, first international win for a player for champs, MVP in the same year. That looks like he's fucking cheating. He's disgusting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him moving forward. But yeah, I agree. I mean, guy's done it all for multiple years now. He really has. So,
but like this is, I think it's a little different. He's done a lot. He's looked disgusting. The individual stuff's been there.
Well, I think like Trey had moments in like IW, but not this consistently. Like I'm sure there were other moments as well, but
they were never close to being MVP and winning champs. Like that is a different level of success. Mm-hmm. That's just like we were freaking out when like 0-1 Anaheim or whatever. It was like,
well, that's when he was like the MVP. Yeah. He had insane stats, but didn't really do it like all the time.
Yeah, this is a whole year of dominance, and I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon. I'm happy for him.
I feel that way. So that was champs. Let's get some community questions before we wrap up today.
And then we'll start getting some guests for you guys, so you don't have to listen to Joe and I flirt with each other.
Yeah. Okay, this one's from Mitch. From Ultra Mitch. Favorite moments that you casted at COD Champs, doesn't matter what year. I mean, I'll always have this one. The Faze LAT Thieves Black Ops 4. I mean, that's the double reverse sweep. They were down 0-2 in control. They were down 0-2 in the series and won. And then they get to a grand final from that. That was losers round 1 or losers round 2, whatever.
Which time favorite moment, casting or favorite moment, period? What was the question?
Casted at COD Champs, favorite moment.
Oh, mine was the Slack Slam, 100%. We were fucking elite. That shit was great.
That was like the same day, right? Wasn't it the same day?
I lost my voice. Only day I've lost my voice. Yeah.
Yeah. So Black Ops 4 was crazy.
We were literally like fucking Pippen and Jordan in that sequence. It was kind of like awesome.
Let's see. This one's from Kid and Envy. Rumored relocation of several teams for next season. Thoughts on the potential of there being no European-based teams?
I don't know how you could be based in Europe. Like, Not really sure how that would work. I mean,
Well, I guess you're saying like if there's like no London Royal Ravens or no.
like changing the city itself. You're saying I got it because
Yeah.
they changed Las Vegas. I thought he was talking about like actually like located there. I don't know, man. For now, it is a North American league. I hope one day this grows to a point that we have said this a lot too. Like we have maybe multiple leagues. Or it's more like a Overwatch or League or Valorant or whatever. It's more international presence, but we're not there yet. I mean, we haven't figured out the financial side with what we're doing. So I think that's a long way off.
Well, I think it sounds like from bits and pieces of things leaking and owners meetings, stuff could be changing anyways. So who knows if we're even still franchised and this stuff even matters? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there was that leak about them, struggling to figure it out or whatever in that stakeholder meeting. I mean, I don't know. We might be back to somewhere like the CWL someday. I don't know how it's going to go, but COD Sports will keep kicking. We'll be here. Hopefully not fired.
Hopefully not. This one's from Esports Illustrated. Vegas champs or LA champs, location and food wise. I think there's some pros and cons. You don't really care. I'll go with my pros and cons.
Playing Diablo.
I like LA champs because we get to go see our pals. I definitely enjoy just going out to LA, just seeing Jack and Matt and seeing everyone. Obviously, getting around in LA is a pain in the ass. So I did like Vegas for that. It was very easy. You don't really have to go anywhere because on those resorts, they don't want you to leave. I was surprised by the crowd in Vegas. And I will say this, with your heavy hitters going out as early as they did, your LA Thieves, your sort of, even Faze not getting to Sunday, your Optics going out, it was still a very strong crowd. It was a very strong crowd. They didn't have to do that, so shout out to you.
That was the most we've ever had, I think, at an event. Like most tickets, what was it? I think talking to Adam Apicella before for a COD only event, like post MLG Pro League and shit, it was like around 5,000 people. It was like the highest we'd hit. This I think was like closer to like 8. So we're not at CS numbers or something, but like, this game was not great. It was a weird year, but that's the most we've had. So fuck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, get champs to London. That's where I'm at.
No, I'm down. Even though I'll still be in my hotel.
All right. One more. We'll do this from Ryan. What team do you see Clayser getting on? All right, I guess I'm going to rephrase this. What team would you like to see Clay on?
Either, I don't know. Listen, people are gonna give me shit for this too. When I think of like your goats all time, I have Krim is number 1 without question. You think otherwise, you're a dumb fuck. Number 2, though, a lot of people I have Scumper Karma. I have Clay, just because what Clay has done for as long as he has, the fact that he has been dealt shitty cards and still bounced back and won. Like he's had to deal with a lot more. Where other people have folded, he has figured it out and won. I think Clay is an absolute animal. So like part of me, even though I think Clay will be on a Legion or something like that, you know where I want him? Fuck it. Throw him on Faze.
That's what I was going to say. It was Sib and Pred. I was, because they won in Black Ops 4. I'd like to see them back. I mean,
I oddly think that could work very well. They don't need someone that's going to drop 40.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting.
They need a killer. And if anyone's like fucking killer,
he's one of them.
Yeah.
No, I just think just because he has history with Sib and Pred, it'd be cool to see. Outside of that, if there's another team, maybe like a Boston, just because I think we kind of touched on it, very young team, just having him go there. But honestly, I just want him on a squad. As good as he was on the desk, great to have in the league.
Yeah, he's got a bright future doing whatever he wants. But I'd say I either want him to go on something like a phase where he will be a contender and a chance to, be in a final on Sunday, or I want him to continue and finish the story he started with Paris. Get them to a champs, man.
With Vegas, like building up to
Vegas, sorry, yeah. Get them to a champs. Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah, maybe more control. Maybe they'll buy in and invest a little bit more in the roster so he can build around that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's got TJ throwing nades at himself. Like,
good point. We'll see what happens, though. That is going to do it for this episode. Recapping champs. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening, hanging out with us. As we said, we're going to start to focus a lot more on guests. We're giving players time to figure out of everything they have to at Rostermania. We'll start Rostermania talks when rosters start coming out. But we'll be pumping out episodes during the off season. So lock in.
I think in general, our goal is to just highlight players and maybe things you didn't know about them and their lives and careers, and just spend time with players. Like the focus we want to be on them. So that will 100% be the goal. I don't know how this is going to evolve with time, but that's our first step. Diving into players. So we'll get a lot more of that. Thank you everybody for watching. I have to go. I have a very tough life. It's very difficult. I got to play Diablo. Am I going to play Final Fantasy 16? I don't know, but I'm stressing over it. I'm not sure, but I hope everyone has a very sexy evening. Joe, I hope you and Theo and your beautiful wife Mo have the most incredible evening of just love.
Thank you. As he says goodbye, also, if there's a player you want us to talk to, comment. Maybe put a comment. We're just curious.
We got a couple lined up. I don't know if Joe we want to talk about it as a surprise, but we've got to
surprise people.
Yeah, it was like a surprise. Surprise! The episode's over. Fuck you.